Welcome to the Core Women Podcast, the place for women entrepreneurs, authors, and self-starters looking to build community and gain valuable insight through expert interviews with women at the top of their game. Join your host, podcaster, producer, expert coach, entrepreneur, and author, Dr. Summer Watson, as she aims to inspire and empower you through these candid conversations. Lean in and embrace the journey. It's time to start the show. Here's your host, Dr. Summer Watson.
Today on the show, I'd like to welcome Cierra Williams, who is a full-time traveling dental hygienist. She is an independent contractor currently working in Virginia and was born and raised in Kansas City, Kansas. She has a BS in nutrition dietetics and has an Associate of Applied Science degree in dental hygiene. I am so excited to have you on the show, Cierra, and welcome. We have so much to talk about.
Thank you so much, Dr. Summer, for having me.
Absolutely. Before we jump into your professional journey, I want you to tell us and the listeners about what it was like growing up in Kansas City, Kansas, and how you had the courage to quit your job in 2017 and jump into a new career. So let's just get right into this.
Okay. Definitely Kansas City, Kansas is definitely full-blown Midwest niceness, just real. It's not really small town because I grew up in the city, but we had a good time growing up. I had a few challenges definitely with my family and, being a product of a divorced family and just a single mother doing a lot, trying to just make sure and give her kids the best. And so I definitely saw the value in education. She made that a very important part of us growing up. I'm the youngest of four girls, and so
wow,
all nieces.
Oh wow.
In the family, and so we had to really be independent. My mom got sick with diabetes, and she had renal failure, and she went legally blind when I was about 15. And so I had a lot of responsibility, but I just knew that I wanted to give myself and my family a better life. I wanted to show my nieces, most definitely. I had a niece born when I was 10. And so I've been an aunt for a very long time.
Okay, yeah.
And I wanted to show her that you do have options and you do not have to be a product of your environment, that with education and hard work and determination, you will anything for yourself. And so it's been a long journey. It's been a long road. And so I left Kansas City fresh at 18, and I went traditionally to school. I went to Northwest Missouri State University, and that's where I got my undergraduate degree in dental hygiene, and nutrition dietetics. And then I got out into the work field and discovered going to school was just not enough. You needed a lot more experience. I flat out had an interview where some guy just told me, "Look, Cierra, I like you, but you have no experience, and you just need to work a job for a year and then go back, come back." And so I was just like, okay, I needed experience. And that experience got me, I feel like, to where I am today, as far as, being able to really connect with the public, being able to connect with people and have a rapport. I know when I met you, we just had a conversation. And it's just because I've been just in a whole lot of places. I've lived in a lot of places. And so it's been nice to kind of just see where my journey has taken me. So, yeah.
Oh, when we first met, we just connected, and I loved what you had to say about what you do, a traveling hygienist. And I'm thinking, I have never even heard of that. And that is so cool. That's number one. But number two, you just mentioned something that I think is really vital and really important for people to hear, is that when you got out of school and you went to apply for jobs and try and get a job, they would say, hey, you just don't have the experience. And I experienced that as a young person as well. And I used to question, well, where am I supposed to get this experience? How am I supposed to get this right? But here's the thing. I think one of those, the things that we can do, or we can actually shed light on today, is it is possible to get experience while you're going to school. So I would encourage students to, number
Yes.
one, seek an internship. Seek an internship, because that can go on your resume, and it's so important. And as a business owner, this is something that I do. Work with college students, work with young folks to mentor them. So critically important, because then when they do start applying for jobs out in the real world after they graduate, they can say, yes, I have experience doing A, B, and C. And people then can't look at them and go, well, you have no experience.
Yes.
They do have experience. And then they, right?
Yes.
So I think it's so critical as young people just to hear this and know that there are opportunities out there. And as business owners, yes, it is our responsibility in a sense to also help mentor these young folks, these young adults as well. So,
I'm creating my business right now in that same mindset, to work with young people, to work with young hygienists just graduating, coming into this field, not knowing, what's possible for them.
Yeah. Now we're going to jump into this. So in 2017, when you took the plunge with little money in the bank and 2 credit cards, and you made this huge career transition, where did you find the courage to do that, Cierra?
You know what, Dr. Summer, I was just in a place where I was working a pretty decent job. I was working for PayPal at the time, and it was very rewarding job, but I feel like it wasn't for me. It wasn't all that I could be doing at the time. And here I'm working in e-commerce, and I'm so far out of my field. I have a Bachelor of Science degree in nutrition,
right?
And I'm working in that field, but I also double majored in dental hygiene when I was in college, and so I'm not working in that field. And so I had to literally say, what is it that you want to do? And I had so many people telling me, why would you leave a good job? You're making, like $17, $18 an hour. At 25, that's pretty good.
That's pretty darn good. Yeah.
And so I was just like, okay. But I just knew that there was more for me to do. And I said, I prayed about it, and I felt like at that time I knew that going home wasn't a failure, because I was working in Arizona. I lived there with no family, no friends. And so, and that was a big leap, but an even more bigger leap was to go back home, to save and say, I'm going to do this because I really feel like it's right for me. And so that's what gave me the courage. I just said, I had a few family members and a couple friends that said, yeah, you can do this. And so I did it.
And I think that's a really important point that you just made there, Cierra, that you had family and friends, although just a few, they said you could do it. And that is super helpful. And one of the things that I'd like to give a tip out there to folks who are just starting a business, connect with other entrepreneurs, because those are the people who have been through it, who know that you'll have family and friends going, why are you doing this? Why are you leaving your job, your stable income, and they'll say the same things because maybe they haven't experienced what it was like, or the excitement it has to be an entrepreneur. To start something new, to start your own journey, to start aligning your values and what you love to do with something that you can create, which is your business.
Yeah. Like just knowing that you can do, like you've done this and you were good at it. You're great at it. Right. But to know that there's that something in you that's just like, but I can do more. I want to do more. I aspire to do more.
And
or
I love
something
that.
different. You can still do what you're doing, but you can also, have multi-levels to you. So
absolutely. Yeah. And I like that you brought out the whole idea of you just didn't feel like that was the place for you. And yet you knew that you had to take certain steps to step out of that job. And yet you just didn't just say one day, oh, I'm going to leave. I just don't feel good here. It was more like a transition where you had a response versus a reaction. And the response was, because I don't feel like this is the job for me and I want something more, I'm going to create that for myself. And here's the first step. Here's the second step I'm going to take. And so you were methodical about that. And I love that because
I set a goal and I said, I'm only going to stay at home with with my dad for a year. And it became a year and a half, but, you know, I had to wait because I did get accepted to hygiene school. Yeah. And I had to go back and take some prerequisites in order to be eligible to start the program. But yeah, I did. I had a plan. I'm a plan.
And that is important.
And sometimes our plans don't go accordingly, you know, but, you know, at least having a plan, I wrote it down. I said, you know, and I stayed true. And unfortunately, I lost some friends during that time because, you know, I just had to be focused on what it is that would get me to the next level.
I love that. That you had a plan, you stayed focused. You know, I have to tell you, when I went to undergrad, because I had a plan too, and I was raised by a single mom, I lost a friend that was very dear to me as well, because she didn't understand that I had to work. I went to school. I took 17 units a semester. I had to stay focused to be able to achieve that goal. And so because I didn't have the same lifestyle as before, where I could go out and I could party and I could do I couldn't do all of that anymore because we had a plan, right? We wanted to change the trajectory of our life. And that meant sticking to the plan. And the plan doesn't always go quite as maybe we have written it out, and that's okay. We can
because it's life, right? There's some humps.
Right. You know? But here's the thing about that: getting back up from those bumps, right? So if you get pushed down, or it doesn't feel right, or oh my gosh, it didn't go quite how you envisioned it to go, it's okay, because you can realign by taking a different tactic or a different approach to A, B, and C. So
I agree.
So how did you become a traveling, and I think this is the key word, traveling dental hygienist, and how did that occur? And how did you even hear about that? Because I had never even heard about that. And I think it's the coolest thing.
You know what? I think originally I started to follow this girl, and I can't even remember what her name is. I feel so bad. But I followed this girl on Instagram who was a hygienist. And I typically follow people who are hygienists. I'm in different groups, you know, for dental hygienists and things like that. And so she had a post, and I think it was her on like a mountain or something like that. And in her hashtag, it was hashtag traveling hygienist. And I was like, right. And I was like, okay, I've always wanted to do that. But I didn't know anything about it as well. I've heard about, you know, they teach you about temping in hygiene school, and you can, you know, be a temporary, but I thought it had to be stationary in one location.
Right. And
so I put the two things that I love to do the most. I really had to have a really hard conversation with myself, Dr. Summer. Yeah. And said, and this was just earlier this year. I've only been traveling full time since March of this year.
Okay.
I was at a place where I was working corporate industry, and, you know, they were just asking me to do a whole lot of things that I didn't agree with. And I moved around, and I said, okay, I was just having a really hard time. I was hitting burnout all the time.
Yeah.
Something has to be different. I have to be able to do what I love and still do it on my time.
Right.
And so I started looking into temping, to working with different staffing agencies that might need traditional help. I just thought maybe I should just go part-time and give myself a little bit of a break, right? But, you know, I'm a single person with no husband, no kids.
Yeah.
And I was just like, okay, well, I still have a little bit of time to have some freedom, right?
Yeah.
And so, I prayed about it, and I had to put a plan. But I also I did some research. And so one of the main articles that I follow in our profession is this magazine called RDH Mag. And they have a lot of, you know, dentists and hygienists, but mainly hygienists who write articles, and they keep up with the profession, and they keep up with the trends and what's going on.
Yeah.
And, you know, this is after the pandemic, and I was one of those people who are reevaluating.
Right.
During that time, and, you know, something that was different. And so I was just like, okay, I came back and I said, well, I think I can do this. I think I can build a schedule for myself. And I know the people that I was working with some of the time, I didn't share with everyone, but I know they were like, this girl is crazy. Like, I'm going to build this schedule for myself. and I'm going to work for myself. I'm going to find offices who need help. Because I realized some offices didn't make it during COVID. They had to close.
Really?
Some offices, a lot of hygienists did not come back after COVID because of fear of attacking the virus. We are a really high level profession that, we have a lot of errors that we create. And so we could not work. So I had 2.5 months to probably even think about this too, but I just wanted to go back to work.
Yeah, right.
And so, I put a plan together. I did some research about different agencies that I can maybe even partner with that would help me find my clients originally, and then maybe take over the booking for myself.
Wow. Okay.
But out the gate, it didn't really happen that way. I actually started to book my own clients. And so I submitted a schedule that I wanted to work, the days that I wanted to work, the hours that I wanted to work to a couple agencies. And I had a license in 2 states at that time. So, and I was living in St. Louis at the time. Right. And so I could work the bordering states. So I had a license in Illinois. And so I decided to contact a agency in Chicago. And then Kansas City. So I gave myself an 8-hour span. If I had to be that same week in another place, I had at least 8 hours to drive. I could still sleep.
Wow. Okay.
Get up and be refreshed in the morning.
Right.
And so, March 15th, I started my first temping position. And I built the schedule for myself, and I've been working ever since.
Oh my gosh, that is so cool. Are there agencies that actually just deal with traveling hygienists? So where you can submit your schedule and they'll say, yeah, we have something in California, we have something in Virginia, we have something. Are there agencies like that? Or
most of the agencies are just dental staffing agencies, and they're really local to just the area.
Okay.
The agency that I'm kind of partnering with now, that I took a contract here with in Virginia, they actually built in a special traveling program.
Nice.
And so this is the first time that I had heard anything like this. And so, of course, I wanted to come see about it. And so I was speaking with a student at a hygiene school. I went and got volunteered to be a patient. And she was telling me that she was going to join the travel program for dental hygiene. And I said, wait, tell me more about this. I'm already kind of doing this. This kind of sounds like what I'm already doing. And so she was like, this company provides housing. They pay your utilities. You literally temp for them in a program where they just send you to multiple offices in a surrounding area.
Okay.
And so I don't do this on a larger scale. I could. I'm trying to do this on a larger scale. I'm trying to inquire multiple states and multiple licenses. But hopefully, it can get to this point where that's something that I definitely want to do, is tell people, if I need to be next week, if I'm working in Chicago, and then I fly back to work in Virginia, and then if I need to go work in Missouri, like I can do that because I have the flexibility in my schedule to do it, and have the state licenses to be able to practice in all these states.
So my question to you is, obviously, with your license in a state, you don't have reciprocity in the other states. Is that correct? So you have to actually sit for their boards and take their licensing exam, or
you have the national, in dental hygiene, you have the national board exam, and you have the national clinical exam that you have to pass in order to become a dental hygienist.
Right.
And so that typically is normally what you submit to the states. Some states have different jurisprudence and drug and law exams that you're required to take no matter where you go.
Right.
Because you have to know and practice the laws by the laws in that state.
Sure. Yeah.
So, yes, typically that's one of the main tests that you have to take. Some states are a little bit different, where they build different things into their curriculum for dental hygiene. In the Midwest, we weren't taught restorative. So when I went to and lived in the state of Washington, in order for me to get my license, I still haven't got my license in Washington. It's difficult, but I'm working on it. I'm close.
Awesome.
But they built these things into their curriculum. Their hygienists can do so much more. It's the West Coast, right? It's progressive. And so I had to go back and I had to take a class, 80 credit hour class for 2 months in order to be able to be eligible to even apply for their license in their state.
Wow. Yes. And that is such important information. Even for me as a doctor of psychology, I don't have reciprocity in every state. So wherever I go or wherever I land and live, if I want to practice there, I have to sit for a board, and we don't have a national board. So it's like just state by state jurisdiction. So yeah, and that is really important. So you are such a valuable resource. And as we get into this further, I want you to just touch on what's been one of your favorite cities so far to live in.
So far, it was Phoenix and Seattle. And I wasn't even practicing as a dental hygienist at the time, but those are one of my main 2 cities that I would definitely, I'm working on getting a license in Arizona and in Washington right now.
Oh.
They're a little bit harder than most, especially Washington State.
Really?
But I think it'll be worth it.
Yeah, absolutely. Because that'll open up a lot of flexibility and opportunity for you. Now, I'm going to jump into my next question. You are developing your own business, RDH Professional Services. Now, does RDH stand for Registered Dental Hygienist?
That's right.
Okay. So RDH Professional Services. Tell us about this business you're developing and when this happened. When did you start developing this business?
So this came about as I started traveling, as I started to see value in what I do as a hygienist. The main thing that got me to say I can start a business using myself and my talents was I was working in Chicago, and I showed up, for my assignment with this office, and he had an office off of Michigan Avenue.
Okay.
And so I won't mention the doctor's name, but he had a small practice, and he was fairly new to dentistry. I think he had only been practicing for maybe 3 years, and he was doing everything by himself.
Oh, wow.
He didn't even he hadn't hired a hygienist. And so he was doing my job and his job, and he had one assistant. And so I think it was the winter, because I met them, I think, in April or May. And like I said, I started traveling in March. And so I think in like January or February, he fell and broke his hand. He slipped on the ice and broke his hand. Oh, no. And so he couldn't practice. And so I was like, but then he saw the value in having a dental hygienist. We generate revenue for the office. It's just not the doctor. And so he found the value in hiring. There was temping. So there's people like me who don't work full time at just one place that, he was grateful for, to come in and work for him for weeks at a time and see his patients. And, he could still treatment plan because we could use our hands. He used his eyes and we used our hands, and we were able to treat the patients.
Wow. That is amazing.
He could have, during that time, this is, after COVID. And so he probably could have lost his business and not been able to practice, or had to go back, once he healed, to working for someone else. And I knew that, he probably had a lot of pride in owning his own practice and, giving his patients the experience that he wanted them to have. So he's a great doctor. I had a lot of fun working for him, but I said, you see the value in having a hygienist, right? Are you going to hire a hygienist?
Yeah.
I think he changed his mind about, doing everything on his own because he saw the value. And so that's one of the reasons why I wanted to talk to you today, is because I want people in the industry, I want hygienists to know, I want dentists to realize and know that hygienists are very valuable. I don't even think a lot of people even know what we do. But there was a quote from RDH Mag that said, most often dental hygienists are the second highest educated person in the dental field and in the dental office.
Wow.
And that is true. We're basically like the doctor's assistants, the nurse practitioners of dentistry.
Wow.
So we do a lot, and I'm very passionate about my patients. We normally see, like when I saw you, you were a patient in my column, of course you saw the doctor for an exam, but you were coming in not to get treatment. Most people come to the dentist because they just think they need a cleaning.
Yeah.
And then we are the ones that you normally see first.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
and then you get to see the doctor if you do treatment.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I love the process. I love what you're doing. Now, what are some of the things that you're going to be doing? Are you going to be consulting with your business?
Yeah, so I'm going to be consulting. I want to teach hygienists what I'm doing to show them that they're so valuable that they can literally take charge of their careers and definitely do as much as they want to do. The field of dentistry is just expanding. It's forever evolving, just like medicine.
Yeah.
It's starting to become a lot collaborative medicine with the things that we're seeing and the correlations that we're seeing in science. And so I definitely want to teach people what I'm doing, also to go into offices and reevaluate some of the things that their hygiene department can do or change or improve on to be able to, make their business more profitable. I've been in a lot of offices. I think I'm an expert now of what works well and what doesn't work well.
Yes. Yes.
and what patients want. And they're so willing more so to talk to me because I don't have DDS or DMD behind my name.
Yeah.
They feel a little bit more, I think, open to speak to the dental hygienist about what their concerns are. I hear all the time when they see that the office has a high turnover. They're like, they want to stay, they want to trust, that they're there and they're in good hands. But they also look at you to say, what can be done differently? I want to stay here, but these are my concerns.
Right.
And so I want to also, let people know that, your patients are seeing these things and they definitely want to have their voices heard too. So I want to be, I want to be that voice for those patients as well as dental hygienists.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. I think absolutely, since you took the leap and do what you do and travel around and work for all these different offices, you got exposure to what's happening in the field and how, one, dental hygienists are being treated. Number two, how they're working alongside the doctors and how effective that can be and what works and what doesn't work so well. So being a consultant for these offices, for these dentists, for other hygienists is so valuable. I love what you're doing. Now, we have covered so much here, but we're going to wrap this up. And my last question is always, if you were to leave the listeners with some words of wisdom, what would they be?
Follow your heart. Definitely. Trust yourself. Know that if you're passionate about something, take those things that you're passionate about and see how they can implement into your daily life. I love to travel. I didn't do it as much as when I was younger, and I strive every day to give myself the things and go to the places that I've always wanted to go. And I love what I do. I love my career in dental hygiene. And so I put those two things together and I made a path for myself. And I'm very happy with the decision that I made. So trust yourself, trust your gut, and you can accomplish anything.
Oh, fabulous. Thank you, Cierra, for joining me on the Core Women podcast today.
You're so welcome. Thank you so much for having me, Dr. Summer. It's been a pleasure.
You can connect with Cierra Williams on Instagram at Cierra C. Williams, on Facebook at Cierra Williams, and on LinkedIn at Cierra Williams, as well as at rdhprofessionalservices@gmail.com.
Thank you for joining us on the Core Women podcast with Dr. Summer Watson. We're so glad you're here and would love to connect more with you. Find us on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube at Core Women, and on Twitter at Core Women 1. For more about Core Women and Dr. Watson, visit corewomen.com. Want more support and resources for amazing women like you? Great! Join Dr. Watson and Jen Fontanilla at the Life, Love, and Money Collective, a Core Women production that aids in understanding the key traits that might be getting in the way of living a life that you are absolutely passionate about. Connect with Summer and Jen and find out more at thelifeloveandmoney.com.